Hey everyone, Jay here, and welcome to another Python lab. This is number 19 in our series this fall, and today we're learning the try and catch or try except in Python. The purpose for this is whenever we are expecting to find a possible error, right, we can try to run a block of code, and in the event of an error, we can catch the error or we can catch the exception. And then instead of just halting and breaking the entire program, the exception will throw some sort of exception. There'll be some sort of message, which we're not going to handle with right now, but we will catch that error and then we'll perform some alternative action and not crash the whole program. We'll keep running. Okay. So here I have a very simple example. All right. I have my beginning comments at the top and my shebang, and I have my main function defined and my if name equals main at the end. Don't forget all those, right? We're still doing that. But here inside my main, this is where I have my try and except or try catch. In most other languages, it's called a try catch. But here I have try except because we're running Python, of course. So let's just talk about what I'm doing here, and then we'll go through where the errors are and what we're going to do with that error, okay? Because we have to have an error. Well, we have to be prepared for the error to happen, right? So I have a variable. I just set it to 2. And then in here, all right, and we'll come down here slowly in a minute, but in here I said my variable equals 5 divided by 0. Now, in programming, in computers, if you try to divide by 0, that's a mathematical function that's undefined, and you're going to have an error, and it's going to cause problems. Okay, so this is where my error is. Now let's look around it and see what I've done to protect our program from totally crashing when it reaches this error. Okay, so I have my try block. That's this line right here. Try, and we're going to try all this. Okay, we're going to print a message that we're beginning the try. That's all we're doing with that. It's just printing a message. Then we're going to do the thing that causes the error. And then I have another line printed out that's after the error. We should not get to this line. Okay. And I even wrote it in the message. We shouldn't get to this line because when the error happens, it stops here. Okay. It's going to stop right here. Anything that happened before it will happen. Okay, so if your program runs and reaches the error in the try, that line and anything after it doesn't happen, but the stuff that came before it really does happen. Okay, it doesn't go back in time to the beginning of the try. This line is actually going to happen. Right, it's going to print that message, and then this line is going to happen, but it's going to throw the error. So that's when it's going to stop. We're in the try, so the program doesn't totally crash. What will happen is we go down to the except section, and then we'll do what's in there, okay? And hopefully you don't also put an error in there or put something that may generate an error in there, okay? All of your code that you expect to generate an error should be in the try. Now, I'm doing something purposely that will cause an error every time. But what we're going to do is get some user input, and maybe the user inputs something that's valid, what we want them to. Maybe the user is a bloomin' idiot and they input the wrong thing and that causes the error. Okay, that's what we're going to do soon, but this time we're just getting a feel for how the try and accept works. Okay, so let's run this. I'm going to bring my going to bring my output up so you can see what happens, and I'm going to run this, and all right, it runs very fast because it just does the whole thing. Okay, we have this line begin the try. It actually happened, but then this other line here didn't happen. Okay, so remember, when you get to your error line, the things that are before it will happen, even if they're inside the try block of your code. If it was before the error, it will actually happen. Now, we're going to put things in there that we want to actually happen, so usually that's fine, but just remember that your code doesn't go back in time to before the try. So if you changed any variables, you did some stuff like that, those things actually happened. And if you need to undo those changes, you have to undo those in the except area. Okay, so we're not doing anything that complicated today, but in the future, if you're doing something a little bit more complicated and you have to try and go back in time and undo some of the early steps that are in your try, you're going to undo it in the except area or in the catch clause. All right. And you'll see that both of these lines did run, of course. They're in the except and they don't cause errors. Okay, so that's it. That's all there is to the try catch or the try except. Okay, you put some code that you think may generate an error, and it doesn't have to. If it doesn't generate an error, and it shouldn't always generate an error, right? If it doesn't, it'll just run all this. Okay, for example, if I were to comment out this, or if I were to just make it not generate an error, 5 times 10 is a thing we could do. Okay, and then I ran it, it will say, all right, it will print the line that we're not supposed to get to because there was no error. Okay, so let me fix that so that it does generate an error. Run that again, and you'll see it does the same thing that it did the first time. Okay, so that's it. That's the try catch or the try except in Python. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.